Hi guys and girls, I'm Obsidian Ant, and this is a look at the future of Elite Dangerous. Here are my top 10 most anticipated features. What is space without space stations? Elite Dangerous has a vast galaxy, 400 billion star systems, many thousands of which are inhabited. Now, I keenly remember the Ocellus starport, the one that was meant to be deployed into new systems for a new frontier expansion, as is being shown in the trailer here. This, of course, already has happened in the game in the past, but it's a very rare occurrence, so I'm hoping to see much more of it in the future. And just maybe this can be put into automatic cycles, so we see the station being constructed over time. Let's also not forget the potential for a greater variety of stations in the future. Many of these were shown during the concept phase of Elite's development, and some of them, to be perfectly honest, looked absolutely great to me. I'd absolutely love to see something like this at some point in the future, giving the galaxy a much richer visual variety. The orrery map view is one of the things that got me most excited in the early days of the Elite development. Just look at the wealth of information on here and all the gameplay opportunities that it could represent. Whilst the current system map has become increasingly functional over the previous few patches, I feel an orrery view gives a much better perspective of the galaxy, and David Braben has recently confirmed that it's still on the cards for the future. So here's hoping.
I suppose one of the key things about passengers is they essentially they just naturally lead on to missions.
Far from being an alternative to carrying cargo, passengers represent an entirely new area for the game. From taking them on excursions and cruises to taking them on big hunting game trips, passengers may well ask you to get involved in entirely new missions. It's also been said that passenger missions can trigger events such as ambushes and pre-arranged meetings with other ships, and even certain passenger missions may chain into a sequence of connected missions, so there's a whole wealth of potential gameplay there. And hopefully the Orca will come into its own with all that, providing for certain unique bonuses. I hope I won't be shot down for saying this, but the current market in Elite isn't the most complex of beasts. The early concepts of the market looked like it was going to be something very different indeed, and hopefully these are still open for the future. Now, I'm very much aware that these screenshots here are merely mock-ups, and it's been confirmed on the forums that they were never actually intended to be directly placed into the game in this sort of format. That said, there has been a wealth of discussions from Frontier on the market, and just some of these features may be included in the future at some point. And what features are these? Well, we are looking at things such as market data availability, allowing us to see market data when docked, which is obviously what we can do now, but that can also be extended so that we can see market prices available from outside the stations, where only general information would be, and outside the systems itself we might be able to get some very basic information. Other potential features for the market also included trading modules, as well as requiring specialist equipment for attempting to transport special commodities, and if you didn't have such equipment you risk spoiling the goods or contaminating them in some way. There was also a whole section in regards to player-to-player trading, allowing players to directly trade with each other so long as they were accessing the same market. So some of this may be there for the future. In either event, I look forward to a market that is more tightly integrated with the dynamic changings of the galaxy. Now that we have power play, the powers in the galaxy do seem to change around a bit. So as they change hands, it would make sense that the market itself should change, and this should factor into any trader's potential for profit and loss. Dynamic missions are a biggie, and according to Frontier, the missions are already slightly dynamic as they are fed through the background simulator of the game itself. Now, as the background simulation becomes increasingly complex, as it already has been a little bit with the recent release of Power Play, it makes sense that the missions themselves should start becoming increasingly more complex, and hopefully this will lead to chain missions and sequential missions and all manner of other things. It may even open up the possibility of missions being placed directly on players' heads themselves, such as a particular notorious bounty hunter may get a bounty mission placed on his head. I'd love to see this sort of thing, and Elite certainly has the possibility for it all. Some of the early concept art showed some interesting locations for missions, as well as some potential for very interesting missions themselves. And let's not forget that with the recent announcement of Close Quarters Combat update for the Xbox later coming to PC, Frontier have all but shown that it's possible to create some very interesting locations for certain events, so maybe this could be extended to missions. To a point, we've already got a dynamic galaxy within the game, but that could be extended a lot further, and indeed there's been discussions in the past that suggest it will go a lot further still than where it's currently at. And indeed it's quite possible that a lot of this is going to expand out of Power Play as Power Play gets further developed. Here then is a screenshot captured from the Power Play trailer. This just may be a mock-up and may not be intended to be in the game, but it does hint at some potential possibilities of where things may go. So what's clear here is that missions of some type are being generated from the background Power Play simulation itself. Just look, we got destroy the rebels, construct military bases, and assist mining efforts. So I guess they could mean anything, but destroy the rebels would be nice. If we go back to the idea of missions being generated on players' heads, maybe those are NPC rebels, maybe they're players' rebels, they could indeed be anyone in opposing factions. Construct military bases is very interesting. Those could be perhaps outposts or maybe Coriolis stations, as the image shows. How would these be constructed? Perhaps through the use of some gameplay mechanic like the community goals, and we've got assist with mining efforts. Now, if Power Play is capable of generating these sort of missions, we're going to have a galaxy that's very much dynamic and very much alive, and if that's the future, that's going to be absolutely awesome. It could be argued that exploration is perhaps the most underdeveloped part of the game at the moment, but there's a whole lot that could be done with this in the future, and maybe this could involve the introduction of new elements and objects in space. One of the newsletters actually mentioned planets with neon atmospheres and did reference that has never been seen in astronomy as yet, but it's something that is included in the game. Shortly after the patch that first allowed us to get the first discovery data found, it was noticed that on occasion people were discovering comets. These, as it stands, are currently actually in the game. At least the data points for the comets are in the games, but the comets themselves are not yet. So that at the very least represents something that hopefully will be put in and unlocked very, very soon. Other things that have been talked about as being part of exploration and the galaxy itself: unusual phenomena, secret locations, resources, the potential to come across and discover missions that are actually inside the galaxy itself as you explore. Perhaps you can discover beauty spots and gain a bonus for that. And not to mention the fact that maybe lost messages and beacons are out there to be discovered. The whole point of exploration is discovery, of course, and it would seem Frontier are keenly aware of this. We recently had the discovery of the Thyroid artifact after all. Now, chances are for many people this would be number one on their list of most anticipated features for Elite Dangerous, but it's sitting here at number 3, and part of the reason is that I've already had a little bit of a taste of this. You may have noticed in the Oculus Rift videos I do, I actually am able to get up out of my in-ship seat and have a walk around the cockpit, so I've had a little bit of a taste of it, and I think it's potentially a great feature, but it's certainly got to have the right sort of content to go along with it. I think this could well be one of the first major expansions to come out, and it actually makes sense when you think about it. Once you can get out of your seat and out around your ship, and even out of your ship, all the other expansions would then follow suit from after that. After all, there's a whole ton of content that could be included in the game once you've got the ability to actually walk around. A lot of people certainly have a lot of very different ideas when it comes to thinking about what sort of content we can have when walking around our ships and even outside of our ships. What I'm most looking forward to is getting into the other rooms in our ships. At the moment, even with the Oculus Rift, we're limited to the cockpits, and on the larger ships such as the Anaconda we should have a whole bunch of rooms there. and indeed it would be great to actually get down to the cargo hold and see the actual cargo we're carrying. I'm also looking forward to the ability to walk around the stations, but whether we're going to be limited to walking around singular rooms or whether we'll have free roam of the entire station remains to be seen. I imagine that the amount of content needed to walk around one of the habitation rings would be sheer ludicrous. It was referenced once that a single habitation ring contains the same amount of landmass as the entire game of Grand Theft Auto 4. So Frontier have certainly got a challenge on their hands with this one. I look forward to seeing what it comes to. We know they are coming. David Braben has confirmed as much only recently yet again at E3, and the Thyroids certainly have the potential to completely shake up the entire Elite galaxy. In fact, the in-game news has even made reference to alien influence a number of times, so it's looking like the Thyroids or some other alien force may show up very soon. And of course we had the alien artifact that showed up recently, giving off a very strange and unusual signal that caused the community to go into meltdown mode in attempts to try and decode it and decrypt it. When the Thyroids eventually do show up, it's anyone's guess as to what that could involve, but war will certainly be on the cards, I would imagine. It certainly invites a lot of potential conflict. Added to that, where do the Thyroids come from? Will we be able to visit their space? What do their ships look like? What do their homeworlds look like? What do their stations look like? And will we be able to dock with their stations? Will they be another faction we can interact with? Maybe we can trade with them. Maybe we can do missions with them or against them. The Thyroids really do have the potential to open up the galaxy to a totally different area of space. And that in more ways than one. Of course, this is the one for me. It is the one that will change Elite from being a great game to me to being the dream game. Elite is already a vast game, but with the ability to go down to planets, it is going to dramatically change just what that galaxy is all about. It's something I'm really looking forward to, especially when you consider what other elements of gameplay that could unlock. The potential for missions alone is staggering. Now, many people actually wonder if it is even technically possible. The videos in the background will actually show that it is technically possible. These are both running from Altera and Space Engine. I don't see any reason why Frontier themselves cannot exceed what is being shown here. And to be perfectly honest with you, even if there was no content at all down on those planets, it would be an explorer's dream to be able to go down to these planets and check out all of these vistas. Just look at all the landscapes that are possible from alien worlds. But I'm sure there's going to be the potential for so much more than that. Just imagine mining on an alien world. And of course, we will also have the habitable worlds, which opens up the possibility of cities. Now, I imagine that planetary landing will be opened up in multiple expansions. David Braben has before already talking about the fact that planetary landing will come in multiple stages, so it makes sense that they will also come in multiple expansions. This then is my most anticipated future expansion for Elite Dangerous. Well, I hope you've enjoyed my brief look at the future of Elite Dangerous and my list of top 10 features that I really am looking forward to. If there's anything I've missed or if there's anything you look forward to, do let me know in the comments below. And if you've liked this video, please do leave me a like. It greatly helps the channel grow. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.